what's up. Oh my god, it's been a minute since I've been on the BM. On my trusty Steed RR. We've been riding John's bike a lot lately just because I have a cam chain tensioner issue. And if you can see, I'm at 8,000 miles right now. So the last service was in like 2021. So we're gonna go give her an oil change, air filter, and the cam chain tensioner upgrade, which is a silver one instead of the black plug that's on the side. Should be a pretty easy job. We're gonna do it at John's mom's house because our apartment is weird and they have an HOA where you can't work on your own vehicles on the parking lot, which I kind of understand because some people like really F it up and don't lay down any protective barrier over the asphalt, and most of the fluids in this can probably damage asphalt. I'm just so happy to be riding this again because as much as I love John's Scout, it's just not my own bike, you know? And yeah, she's just freaking awesome, man. Is this like a private retired police car? What's going on here? Yeah, police suit. Hopefully the audio noise is kind of fixed. I repositioned my mic again just to check like where it sounds best, you know? It's an ongoing struggle to get that stuff right. Hopefully it works. On the bobber it's not as bad because, and I mean on this you'd expect it's not as bad because of the windshield, but on the bobber it's not as bad because I'm not going as fast. This bike just likes to do like 70 to 90 miles an hour everywhere. And we're gonna disregard that speed limit sign right there because it is, we're somewhere in Mexico, so they don't count. Nah, I'm just kidding. Oh, dude, these burbles are just out of this world. I love that so much. I mean, John's bike sounds awesome on the downshifts as well, but it's just, I like the poppy, my friend put it a good way. My friend Joel said, this bike sounds a lot like a Formula car, you know, because it's high revving. It goes to like 14k RPM, and John's bike just has like more a grumbly low end sound, you know. I don't know, it's to each their own. I prefer the high revving inline 4 engine noise. I used to have FZ7, which I always bring up, which had a I didn't even have an exhaust on my bike, but it was a V, like an inline twin, I want to say. That also sounded good. But yeah, there's something to like the rumbly noise of like an American V bike or a V engine, I guess, like a V8s and all that. Not my cup of tea. I mean, I can see how people like that stuff since it's like very bassy, but I don't know. I just like inline 4 noise, turbo noise, you know. I have a Golf R as a daily driver. And that thing, like, once the turbo starts spooling up at like 3,500 RPM, it's minty. But yeah, how you guys been? I mean, my last video on what's dividing bike culture has gotten a lot of comments. A lot of people that have had input, and I really love that, man. Like, that's the whole reason I like started the YouTube channel up, because I just like, I like talking to people, and I like getting, what's most important is I like getting perspective of like other people, you know. If you just go from like based on what you see all the time, you just can't build as good culture or as informed as you could be if you ask other people for their perspective, you know. So you should definitely do that. And I think it's a lot of what brings divide and hate into the world too, is stuff that's just like people can only see it from their viewpoint. They can't see it from somebody else's perspective. There's a cool caricature where it's like a guy looking at a 9 and a guy looking at a 6, and obviously a 9 is just an upside down 6, right? So it all depends on how you look at things, you know. Like John and I were looking at Harley Davidson from an outside view. He rides cruisers. He's been riding a Scout Bobber. It's his first bike for I don't know how many years now. I think he bought it in 2021. I've ridden naked bikes, and I've ridden cruisers now, Harley Davidson, the Indian Scout. I've ridden this. This is the only like true super sport I've ever ridden. But I did a lot of research before I got it, like watching YouTube videos, and that's what you really should do to like be informed and make a good decision on what type of bike you really want. And now that I'm riding this, I discover that while I like the I like pretty much everything about it. Suspension, power-wise, you really can't complain. It's very premium. Obviously, it's like from the factory. I think it's a 17 grand bike, so it's quite expensive. Actually, I only say that because I have the original bill of sale for this bike from the first owner. And yeah, I mean, it's just, but what this bike has a lack of is the everyday ability, you know? You can ride it around no problem in low gears and commute to, you know, where you're going. But it's just the FZ7 I had, it was torquey throughout the entire rev range, but it didn't have enough power to really take you to jail, if you know what I mean. Like here on this bike, you can go to jail in first gear. Like, it does like 92 miles an hour or something, I think. And it's ridiculous for the road. Getting the perspective of riding a super sport every day has taught me that, you know, it's not really all about having the most power in the bike. You know, it has to be like a good balance of lightweight, and also the steering is another thing. These bikes are designed steering wise to go in a corner at like 60-degree lean angle, you know, and crazy shit like that. Nah, that's an exaggeration, but you know, you're supposed to lean it, you're supposed to be hanging off the side of the bike. Well, if you do that on a public road and you hit literally one little piece of gravel, you're just dead. Like, there's no other way to put that. You're just sliding off the bike, you know. Had to layer down on them clippings, brother, type shit. And it's not the way. But like something like an FZ7, you can still hang off the bike and you can still do all that, or like a naked bike, I should say. But you don't have that like immense amount of potential that's being wasted because the bike's really not conceptualized to be on everyday road. Like this cam chain tensioner. So in the 2016 or 2015 through 2018 S1000RRs, the K46, there's a cam chain tensioner that's oil-based in it. And from my understanding, the reason why it doesn't hold the cam chain tight after 15,000 kilometers, or like whatever I'm at, 7,500 miles anymore, is because when the oil pressure is obviously higher at higher RPM. So when you're driving the bike daily below 4,000 RPM, because you just can't use the upper power band on the road, like, from what maybe I'm wrong, I'm not a mechanical engineer, I used to go to school for that, but from what I understand is the oil pressure is not high enough to hold the cam chain tight. So BMW had to put a better, or a what do you call it, tighter one in this bike, just because they were wearing out the cam chain so fast. And you know, that's not an inexpensive job. Like, I got a quote from BMW Greensboro last time, which was like over $3,000 to do new cams and figure out, like, take the engine apart and all that, just hours wise, you know, because it's not being ridden. Like, even in the owner's manual, it says everywhere in the owner's manual, this is a race bike, this is meant for track, so, you know, use it there. All right, I'll check you guys when we're at John's. I don't want to dox the man, so we're gonna go do this service, and then I'll see you guys in a minute. Yo, what's up? Alright, so last time my audio got corrupted on the way back from John's house after I did my oil change, my filter, adjusted my chain, and I just wanted to summarize real quick, like, why you should do your own DIY work. Because first of all, an hour from the mechanic is usually like around $100, if not more. Like for BMW mechanics, it's usually $150, right? So depending on how long your maintenance takes, it's usually pretty expensive, right? It makes up a majority, like the parts, my parts. Oh, and I did the camshaft tensioner, which the part for that was like $80 with 2 O-rings and the part itself, which is a silver tip one now, so the chain rattle is gone. The reason you should do stuff like that yourself is because all it involves, the oil change, you take the left fairing off, the cam chain tensioner, you take the right fairing off, and then you do your oil change real quick, which I'm sure most intelligent people can figure out how to do that stuff themselves, especially since it says step by step in the motorcycle manual, which was written for like idiots like me, right? Like people that have like one active brain cell can do these like simple operator level the simple operator level maintenance, you know? So it's not that hard, firstly. Secondly, you save a ton of money. And thirdly, you're going to be more in tune with the motorcycle itself. So, like, my chain right now is a little bit loud, only because it's a little bit tighter. And I'm not used to that, so I gotta remember, okay, my chain's louder because I tightened it, and it's making a little bit more noise than usual. And then I remember that for when it's not making the same noise that it does, so I can be like, oh shit, my chain's probably loose, I should probably go and tighten that. Because I don't want my chain to come off, like, when I'm riding my bike at, like, I don't know, you know, legal speed. And lastly, what I think a lot of people might be divided on, what I think a lot of people are divided on within doing your own maintenance is just how zen doing your maintenance is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you sit there in front of your bike and it's just you and the bike for a minute. And you just have time to collect your thoughts, you know? You have time to think about the deliberate actions you're taking while you're learning something, which is good for your brain, because every time you learn something, it's like a synapse connect, you know what I'm saying? So, all in all, it's very good for your mental health to do your own maintenance. And so, you know, if you already take the time to clean your bike, which I think takes a lot more than doing an oil change, because you gotta get in all these little nooks and crevices and all this shit. But if you already take the time to do that, like, you can take the time to do your own oil change, which, I mean, an oil filter is, what, I don't know, an oil filter with oil together I think was like $100. But the hours on top of doing an oil change, I'm sure like an experienced lube tech could do it in under an hour. But let's say a rough estimate, because you have to take all these bolts off and everything, rough estimate is like 1 hour of work, which is like $150 on the high end for like BMW mechanics who are real special, you know. So it costs you like $250 or $300 for an oil change, taxes included. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? When you have a bike that already costs you some over $100 a month for insurance, and then you add on an oil change every, I don't know, I like to do mine every 3,500 miles because it makes me feel better when the oil's a little bit cleaner, you know what I'm saying? Like, the oil in this is already looking a little bit grim right there, you know? Like, I can't see the bubble behind it, and I just did it, but that's just the nature of the beast with this thing. But yeah, and then the cam chain tensioner, they were saying if it's something related to the cams, it's already like a $3,000 job, because you have to pull the whole engine apart. But it's just this little bolt right here, you know? I don't know if my camera is directed properly, but that you can see in there. But let's just take this out, put a different O-ring on, you know, and put the thing on. But it's simple stuff like that you can totally do yourself. And this specific bike, the Gen 3 K46 S1000RR, you know, I feel like it's not outrageous to say it's from a time where engineers actually took like the operator level maintenance into consideration and made it easy to work on, right? Because like the air filter itself is, you take these couple like 5 bolts off, you lift this up, you lift the ECU up, which is another bolt, and you put a new filter in. and it's as easy as that. So, you know, if you want one of these more expensive, more premium bikes, I don't know how Ducatis are, because I don't have any experience with them, or like Aprilia or something, you know, the Italian bikes, I don't know how they are, but this one specifically is super easy to work on, you know? So I highly recommend it. And you know, when you're sitting there in a shady place and messing around and screwing around and learning stuff about your own motorcycle, it's a skill you can learn, that you can pick up, and now you have another hobby, is working on motorcycles and riding them, you know? And I mean, if you're just into riding the bikes themselves, then you can obviously pay for the maintenance. But I feel like for newer riders especially, and younger riders especially, right? Like, I'm 28 years old. I'm in college again after I did a stint in the military. But for new riders and for young riders, when you buy a motorcycle, buy a used one, okay? And do your research on YouTube, like become like a certified YouTube mechanic to learn how to work on it yourself, so you can, first of all, buy a more expensive bike because you're saving money on the epic amount of, you know, work it needs. And also, if you know what you're looking at, you can look for that stuff when you're buying the bike. Therefore, instead of like buying an R6 for, you know, a couple $1,000 that's got 40 million miles on it, you could probably buy an R1 like straight upgrade to, you know, a newer one, because of that drastic difference in maintenance cost you're about to save. Or you can buy a S1000RR, you know. I mean, it's all about finding a good deal and finding a bike that's, you know, in good condition and everything like that. There's a million videos out there on how to buy a used bike, but I feel like prerequisite to that is just knowing the maintenance and doing the maintenance yourself and getting in a habit of DIYing stuff. Because you got to think about it, it's the same thing as eating at a restaurant, you know? The only difference between the restaurant food and your food is you're paying for the experience of the chef. If you learn how to cook at home and you do it every day for day for day, you know? Not like a motorcycle, you only got to maintain it every 3,000 miles, but if you cook, you're going to save a lot of money in the long run not eating out, you know what I'm saying? So take that into consideration, that saving the price of the... saving on the price of the maintenance, and also just the zen of working on it yourself, and having a good peace of mind is when you're riding it, when you know you've done the work yourself. Having a good peace of mind about that is already worth its weight in gold anyway. That's really all I wanted to leave you with. And also, when you're working on your own bike, being awesome, doing your own DIY jobs, you know, your hands are probably going to get dirty. And for that, we have our channel sponsor. So, conveniently enough, check out jamslatheringsoap.com. We got a nice little coupon code, HOSVERSE10, on the screen now. Type that in when you're at checkout, and you'll get, I think, 10% off your order, which is, you know, another way to save money, to go and buy a more expensive bike when you're saving on soap. So check him out. This is my partner John. He makes the soaps. He's an awesome guy, and helping him out helps me out because we get to go on rides and we get to try different things. Stay tuned for the next video. And well, it's going to be a couple videos from now, but stay tuned because we're going to go test ride Indians on the I think 10th and 11th here in Fayetteville at Baker American Cycle. If you're around in town and you want to say hi, come by and say hi. We're going to be riding bikes. I hope I get to ride a Indian Scout 101. It's the new 2025 model, and it's got the like upside down forks. It's got double brakes, you know, everything I want in John's bike, that bike has. I really appreciate your time watching this video. If you want riding only videos, leave that down in the comments below, please. And I shall provide. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one.